first flight since COVID. Haven't had to.
Have a great trip.
See you later.
Love you. Jason is taking his first flight since COVID. He used to travel all the time for business and hasn't traveled for almost 2 years now. This is really, really special for him. He loves hanging out with his colleagues and friends. I'm so happy for him that he can travel again. Hello, Circuit Riders. Welcome back to the channel. As you saw, Jason just left on a business trip, and this is a very special and unique thing for us. When we lived in a sticks and bricks before we got in the RV, Jason traveled quite a bit for his work. I would say maybe 1 week per month he was gone, either for overnight trips or flying off for multi-day trips on a regular basis. So when we got into the RV a year and a half ago, it was at the very beginning of COVID, and so of course all travel was halted. And as of now, November of 2021, Jason has not flown anywhere since January of 2020, almost 2 years. He's done everything on Zoom. His job has changed a little bit, so he didn't have as much opportunity to travel, but now he has just started traveling again. He's got 4 business trips booked in the next 5 months. So this one that he's on this week is for 3 days. Next week he's going to be gone for 4 days. So I am by myself in the RV for the first time since we started. Now, this is a really unique situation because Jason is a total extrovert. He loves being around people. His job is to help new men and women start new churches, and he is constantly on coaching calls and meeting with people to further the church's mission. And he loves being out and being with his friends and colleagues. And we really consider Jason's colleagues to be our friends. We get together with them socially. We see them at retreats. And so they have become really special to us, not just as business partners, but as real friends. So he has really missed seeing those people in person over the past year and a half. And I have too, but not to the same extent as Jason. And obviously we're traveling around the country, and so we don't have local friends that we can just get together with. Now, we have been so fortunate that we can see many friends around the country as we travel, and those visits are very special to us. But there's nobody on a regular basis that we can just go hang out with. Now, I, on the other hand, am a hardcore introvert. There is nothing I love better than to just have an afternoon to myself, either in the RV or go out shopping by myself, watch some shows, read a book. Like, that is my idea of heaven, just to be by myself. So this is common for many couples, right? That one is an extrovert and one is an introvert, and that's nothing new. But because we live in this RV and we've been traveling all around the country, Jason and I have been together 24/7 for the past almost 2 years since COVID started. The only time that we are ever apart is if one of us goes to the grocery store by ourselves, literally. It's very rare that one of us is out of the RV without the other one. So I've been joking with some of my business colleagues that, I'm really looking forward to Jason going on these trips because he can get away for a little bit and we can have some time apart. And I understand that when other people hear that, they think, oh, is everything going okay in the RV? Are you guys are you getting along? Is your relationship going to survive? But if you think about your spouse, if you're married, or your partner, if you were with them 24/7 for almost years on end, that would be a strain on your relationship. And it has been a little bit of a strain for us. We love traveling together. We love exploring places together. And that's one of our real strengths as a couple, is that we have the same interest when it comes to exploring. But of course, arguments and things are going to come up, and it's been a challenge sometimes. So all that to say, I am so excited that he's got some days with his friends and his business colleagues, and I've got a couple days by myself here in the RV. Now, what am I going to do by myself here? Well, I've done a deep clean of the kitchen, which doesn't happen very often, so I was glad to have some extra space to clear things off and really get a good cleaning of the kitchen and the bathroom. And of course, I'm working, and I work part-time as a virtual assistant for an accounting firm, and I've done that for the past couple of years. So I generally work about 2 to 3 hours a day at my little office in my bedroom, which I love. And so we've done all those things. We've worked, we've cleaned, and now I am going to head out for a little outing by myself down in Albuquerque. So let's get going. You can come along with me. Albuquerque has a large BioPark, which is rated one of the top ones in the country, and there's a couple different sections. They have a zoo, which is a separate ticketed thing, and then they have this combination botanical garden and aquarium. So I'm gonna buy a ticket here for the aquarium and garden. I love walking around botanical gardens, and looks like they've got a really cool shark display here. So let's go. Here in the children's garden, there's this little rock maze. Pretty cool. My kids loved mazes like this when they were little. Oh, dead end. And the kids who are here are loving this place. There is a butterfly house that I just passed, but it looks like it's locked up and closed today, but the bugarium is open. Let's go see some bugs. Look at this mantis. It looks just like leaves. You would never be able to tell. Of course, not everything is in bloom right now because it's the end of November, but there is still plenty of plants to see, and I can see the lights starting to come on here of their little displays. Really pretty. This is a great garden, especially if you have kids. Definite must-see. Super impressed with the BioPark garden. Now let's head over to the aquarium. Wow, what a lovely afternoon. It took me about an hour and a half to get through the BioPark garden and only about a half an hour to get through the aquarium, but I was going at a pretty good clip. So if you were here with kids or with other people, I would plan on maybe 3 hours. And there was some cool things in that aquarium that I have never seen before. My favorite was the weedy sea dragon. It's a relative of the seahorse and it comes from Australia. That is the most odd looking sea creature I think I've ever seen. And don't forget that I always link where we are and the special places that we're going to in the description below the video. So if you ever want to mark something on your own map that you want to go that you've seen in our videos, just check that description below and you can get that link. The sun sets at 5 o'clock here. The clocks have changed and we're not used to the sun setting so early, but it being so warm. Being from New England, we always associate early sunsets with cold, wintry weather. But you know what? I'll take it. sun's already up. I'm also gonna stop by Sprouts Farmers Market on my way home to pick up some dinner. Have you heard of this store, Sprouts? I love this store. It's a little natural grocery store. And you know what? I really like the 2-week stays at a campground. It's plenty of time to really delve into the area around you and figure out what stores sell, what kind of products that you want, and it's plenty of time to really explore the area around you and do all the things you want to do, all the sightseeing you want to do. You don't feel rushed and you have some time to just slow down for a little bit. So I've really enjoyed our 2 weeks here in New Mexico. It's been a nice and relaxing stay. I decided while I have some days to myself here that I'm going to make some snacks from scratch, because I find that we tend to rely on store-bought granola bars and chips and nuts, and we try to buy healthy things, but they're still store-bought. So I've got a few old recipes that I used to make at home that I love, but they have a lot of ingredients and they're kind of involved. So I don't usually make them in the RV, but I'm gonna this time, because when we were at the Harvest Toast with the pecans, I got these beautiful raw pecans. So I want to make my Choco coconut date balls, which have all kinds of different nuts in them, and dates and coconut and chocolate chips, and I really love them. So we're gonna make those today. And then I've also got a batch of kale chips in the oven. Again, I don't normally make kale chips from scratch in the RV, but the other day I was eating some veggie straws and I thought kale chips would be really good right now, and it would be good for travel days, and it's really healthy and it's super easy to make. All you gotta do is toss the kale in some oil and salt and pepper and throw it in the oven. So I'm having a little fun baking today. Another reason I don't often make this recipe in the RV is because I don't have my big food processor anymore that I used to have at my house. I just have this little one. I think I gave the big one to Bryn when we moved into the RV. But this will be fine if I just do a little bit at a time. And we've got pecans, walnuts, almond meal, sunflower seeds, dates. It's gonna be great. And I'm gonna put the recipe for these cookies in the description below because they're one of my favorites. I make them every Christmas too. A little trick I do when I grind the chocolate chips, because chocolate chips are so hard they often don't grind very well. So I chop up my dates, my whole dates, and microwave them for 30 seconds to get them nice and warm and soft. And that will help the chocolate chips melt a little bit while it's grinding, and it just breaks them up a little bit better. Okay, so that's nice and mixed up. Chocolate and dates and coconut. The chocolate chips aren't all the way ground up, but it's okay if there's little chunks in there. Okay, now that everything's ground up, we're gonna add a little bit of cocoa powder just for some extra chocolatey goodness, and some melted coconut oil to help it stick all together. And then we're just gonna shape this into balls and refrigerate them. You don't need to bake them. They're just refrigerator cookies. Refrigerate them until they're firm. Have a great snack. Okay, I baked my pan of kale chips. Now I say it's easy, but I have had a lot of trial and error with kale chips, because the key is you have to have really fresh kale and don't over oil it. If you have old kale that's a few days old, it's gonna taste really bitter. And if you douse this with oil, it's gonna be soggy and it's not gonna bake up. So here's what you wanna listen for. Hear that crunchiness? You wanna bake them until they're nice and dry, but still bright green. They shouldn't be brown. So these are really good and crunchy. I'm gonna do another pan because I've got some more kale, and I'll show you how I do it. I just went to preheat my oven for these kale chips and it didn't turn on, and I know that one of the propane tanks is pretty low, so I tested it and the propane was out, so I went outside and flipped the switch to use my other propane tank. Just part of RV living. Okay, so this is the last of my kale. I'm gonna pour it all in my pan. This is maybe 2 days old, and I've gotten 3, it was a big bag. I got 3 pans out of it. Now this looks like a lot, But it's okay if it overlaps a little bit. You don't want a huge mound, but it will shrink down as it cooks. Now, what I like to do is, you don't have to do this, but I like to pull out these little stems, the woody stems, because I just don't like chewing on them, and they're not going to get very crispy anyway. So I go through the whole pan and pull those out. Like I said, you don't have to if you don't want to. Okay, that looks good. Now I'm just going to drizzle olive oil over this really lightly. All you want is something for the salt and pepper to stick to. I'm not going to make it super wet. And before I touch it with my hands, I'm going to put a little salt. Not too much salt, unless you like a lot of salt. A tiny bit of pepper. I haven't had good luck with other seasonings on here. Sometimes I try garlic powder or onion powder, that kind of things, and those tend to burn. So I find that just plain salt and pepper is the best. Just mix it around a little bit with your fingers and get it all moist. Spread it out in the 350-degree oven for between 15 and 25 minutes, depending on your oven. Now, my RV oven doesn't get as hot as a regular oven would, so I have to do it a little bit longer, but it still turns out good. Hey, thanks for joining me for this little cooking lesson. I know I don't usually do this on the channel, but it's kind of fun. Just gonna flip them a little bit. If they're not done, put them back in for a few more minutes till they're nice and crunchy. All right, my treats are done. Let's go pick up Jason at the airport and see how he made out on his trip. Welcome home.
Good times.
This is your home right now.
Yes, until Friday. Well, then it's my home in the morning. And then Phoenix area will be my home in the afternoon.
How was your trip with your friends?
Me and my little friends had a nice time. We all hung out together in Atlanta. It's good stuff.
Very good.
Yeah. Looking forward to going in with my friends up in Canada, hopefully.
Next week, yeah.
Assuming my test is 72-hour test is clear for international travel.
Well, I had a lovely few days by myself, and I'm glad you had a lovely time away with some people.
Me being with lots and lots of people was lots of fun. You being with no people, I suspect, was equally fun for you.
Well, we
Good to be
are
back.
a couple more days here, and then we're heading to Phoenix area. So we will see you then, everybody. Bye-bye.
Has a bit warm for me.